beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're going to talk about this Enchanted palette from ColourPop. I already swatched this and did a bunch of comparisons with it in my recent Catching Up with ColourPop video, and frankly, I was very disappointed by the color story and kind of the performance, but mostly just the color story of this palette. And a lot of people in the comments expressed the same frustrations because we have this gorgeous, mysterious, dark, purpley, sparkling, very enchanted, very midnight with a wood nymph kind of vibes. And then we have a very pinky, neutral, mostly very, very red-based purple color story inside. There's nothing wrong with this color story. My complaints stem from the fact that, first of all, you can go and look at the comparisons. This exact color story has been done so much, and every time ColourPop gives us a purple, they give us this very pink fuchsia red with some neutrals mixed in, and this packaging just gives off a vibe that is so beautiful and so fun for holiday, and they really just could have gone for it, and this just fell really flat for me. Personally, there are a lot of palettes that I compared with this one that I really, really love, and I was just wishing for something different here. So, like I said, nothing wrong with this color story. I like it. I like a lot of palettes that have this color story, but I felt like there was so much they could have done with this gorgeous theming. This graphic design was really inspiring to me. So I decided to redesign this palette the way I would have liked to see it. Now I realize that ColourPop and most brands make palettes like this because they are very approachable, they're very comfy, they're very much these same colors on repeat because it's the same colors that customers buy and wear daily on the repeat. I understand that, but I do think that there's space for more, for something that is turned up a few notches. So I'm gonna show you my vision based on this packaging that I do find very inspiring. It's very in line with my own aesthetic. I love sparkly, I love a celestial theme, I love purple. Purple is my absolute favorite eyeshadow color to wear. I really felt like this whole inspo was something that I could really run with. I'm gonna show you my process. I start conceptualizing the redesign with a graphic, and then I translate that into the closest, best match I can find from my own personal collection. So let's take a look at what I came up with. The first step of my palette redesign process is taking the original palette photo, bringing it into a photoshopping tool, and I put two of them side by side because I'm not just gonna go in and blindly add new colors. I really want to be able to dissect what exactly it is I want to change about the palette that I'm redesigning. So seeing the original version and then curating my own version next to it really helps me to do that. It helps me to pinpoint which colors I do want to add and if there's anything I want to keep. In this palette, I did keep that very first little light pinky shade because I felt like it was working with my color story. Then I was able to say, okay, I need more of a cooler blue-based set of purples. I do want to add some color variety in the form of greens because we do see this forest type of imagery. I know I want to put some more shine and some more shift. So those were the points where I started building from, and then once I have tweaked my graphic design, my photoshopped version, then I go through and do a sweep of all of my single shadows and try to find shades that will at least somewhat match to my photoshopped version. I'm not going to get exactly dead on matches. For example, this matte green single that I ended up with is a little bit more pastel, where I wanted something that did have a bit more of a neutral purple undertone. And you'll also see the other green matte shade that I'll choose later is, again, not quite the same tone as was in my design. I've just come to realize I don't have a ton of really great neutral green singles in my collection. So I do just have to sort of go with the best match. For an exercise like this, it really doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not designing this to sell it or anything. It's really just to live out my imagination and to give you an idea of what I mean when I say, hey, there are these things I would have done differently. I think for a lot of people, it's easier to see something like this than to just hear me quickly explain it in a catching up with ColourPop video. And like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with the original version. I have this terrible fear of the people who designed the original palette seeing a video like this and feeling like, someone was kind of dumping on their creative vision. This is just an alternative. I don't hate the original palette. I'm sure that it's going to be really well loved. At the end of the day, this is just a fun way to flex my own creative muscle, and it's also a great way for my single shadow collection to get some extra love. Ultimately, I hope it inspires you to do the same. And don't forget, a lot of your palettes that are pre-made are magnetic, so you can take the shades out and either rearrange them within their own packaging, or you can move them around, swap them around. You really do have the power to curate your own color stories. And you know what? If you swap around shades from your palette, swap around and build your own single shadow palettes like this, and you decide you don't like it, all you have to do is put them back. There's no permanence to this. You can have complete free reign, complete creative freedom, because this isn't permanent. No one is going to come to your house and judge the palettes that you've built. You can always just change them and rearrange them. And who knows, you may end up discovering a new color combo that you love, or rediscovering a shadow that's been pushed to the side and now has a chance to shine. That is one of the things I love about building my own palettes. And I really like the way that this whole color story came together in the end. Ultimately, I would still like to see those two matte greens tweaked a little bit, but overall, I think the effect really is there. This mix of springtime sparkly pastels with bolder shimmers and some deep sort of nighttime mystery fairy magic type of colors. I really love this, and I think in the pan it looks so bright and it could be too shiny, too colorful, too overwhelming at first glance, but I took half the shades. This is 6 of the 12 shades here. If you just grabbed from these 6 shades, I think you could still end up with some really toned down, neutral, more, air quotes, everyday wearable type of colors. And I do think about that when I'm creating a color story. I want to make sure that it's useful for a really wide variety of people. Now that you've seen my process for the redesign and the color scheme that I came up with, I want to show you an eye look that I created using this palette that I came up with. And this eye look was very much inspired by the graphic on the Enchanted palette packaging. This is really my translation from this palette cover to my eyelids. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's take a look at that tutorial now. One of the things that drives my choices when I'm redesigning a palette like this is trying to envision what looks would ultimately come from the palette. That is why I'm such a big fan of what I call a really balanced palette. I like half matte, half shimmer. I like some neutrals, some colorful shades, and I really like to have both light and dark shades because I feel like those are the things that go into creating dynamic and well-rounded looks from an eyeshadow palette. Just in my experience and for my own personal taste, you may find that you prefer a lot more matte shades, and then that should drive your choices when you are putting together your own little palettes like this. I was thinking about the type of eye looks that would make me feel enchanted, and that's why I ended up with a lot of shifting colors, a lot of duochrome type of colors, and that's also why this palette ended up having more pastels than I usually favor. I typically am not a big pastel, especially matte pastel user, but there are two in this palette, and I think that it fits with the types of looks that I really wanted to be able to create with this palette. So that's always something that I encourage you to consider, because I think sometimes we get caught up in matching packaging or just the colors, and you really want to think about things like, what types of shades do I like to use for transition colors? What types of shades do I like to use for highlights? And perhaps you don't like a really sparkly inner corner highlight shade like I'm using. Maybe you want a bright matte shade. So you really need to think about how the shades work together, how the look comes together as you are selecting shades for your own personal design. And sometimes that can be difficult to do. Sometimes that's part of the trial and error. I've definitely put together a redesign, and then when I went to use it, I felt like I didn't have great color combinations for an actual look. And that's when I go back to the drawing board. And sometimes it takes getting all the way to that step for me to realize, hey, I'm missing something. And that really helps put my ideas into practice. And I think it's made me look at my own pre-made palettes in a new way as well. Okay, I'm trying not to say it too much, but I love this look. I love it so much. This is such a perfect fit for me, and I am so happy and enamored with it. Whenever I do these build your own palette videos, my hope is just to inspire you to create your own color stories and play with the makeup that you already have existing in your collection. Not necessarily for you to go out and buy all of these single shadows. Some of them may be out of stock or discontinued for all I know. I'm just working with what I have available to me, and I encourage you to do the same. Think outside the box of the prepackaged palettes that are given to us. Take inspiration wherever you can find it, and just have fun mixing and matching your makeup. I go through a lot of different trial and error when I'm coming up with my color stories. So I really encourage you to just do the same, mix and match your shades, and you may end up creating something that you really love. I feel like I landed on exactly the vibes that I was going for with this little build your own palette situation here. I wanted a mix of these murky, inky, midnight in the forest type of colors with some pastels and a lot of sparkles. That's just what felt really enchanted to me. That was the vibe I picked up from this gorgeous packaging. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. It just ended up being exactly what I envisioned, if not even a little bit better than what I envisioned. I would love to hear about what your take would be like on this Enchanted palette. Do you like my redesign? Are you looking for something else? Maybe less purple, maybe a couple more neutrals thrown in there. I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! I mean, this is dead on. I know, I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again, but I'm really excited about it. I love this eye look. Why? Now that is Enchanted. That's what we were looking for. That's what we needed. Excuse you. See how much better this color story fits with the packaging? This beautiful, deep, very murky blue base sparkly packaging. This eye look is what should come from this packaging. Just look at it. Look at it. I love it so much. This is what it could have been. I mean, look, come on, look at those colors. Ugh. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I really nailed it. I really nailed it with this redesign. I frequently get comments on my build your own palette videos or Instagram posts where people say like, when is ColourPop going to collab with you? They have my number. We've been friends for a long time, me and ColourPop. They know exactly where to find me. So I don't know. The door's open. I have so many ideas. So many. So you know what? If any other brands want to beat them to the punch, just hit me up. It's not a secret. You know where to find me. Well, not any other. I'm not a good fit with everybody. You know, that's fine. I get it. What? I want to show you an eye look that I used created. Help. Oh, and the way this matches my sweater too, I'm just feeling real matchy and I like it. And I wore these little sparkly snowflakes for like the enchanted holiday vibes, and also these are my favorite holiday earrings from my Etsy shop, so you're gonna see me wearing these a lot because they go with everything. They look cute with everything. And no matter what kind of Festivus you celebrate, even if you don't celebrate any Festivus, they just kind of work for everybody. All right, that was fun. That was fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I clearly need to take this DOGOUT because she's over here staring me down and doing her little like baby growls at me where she's not really growling, but she's just like trying to get my attention. So I guess that means it's time for me to take a little WALK, if you know what I'm saying. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed having you here, and I think that you're cool, cute, smart, special, and awesome, and I love your face. Okay, bye!